off in just a minute, but just keep kind of, we'll talk amongst ourselves.
Can I steal one of your pens?
Yeah.
That's already had it.
What else we got? You're going to cover if anybody comes in.
We're going to vote for the best little
Listening for
signs.
the bell.
And then when we get to going around the circle, just if you have an event or something coming up, you can just kind of promote that here in that space. And
She's writing an advertisement right on the card.
yeah, and Jose's got his hashtag Let's Go. Like I'd love to see if we can get them elevated a little bit so that it's on the.
Oh, that's. I don't think.
Are you guys sponsoring this? Is that what's going on? Is that what it is?
So.
Well, I sponsored the food, but I just put it on there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was breaking the rules or not, but.
And you brought the food.
Can't break the rules at your own podcast. All right, it is 3 o'clock, guys. Welcome to Friday afternoon here at Action Business Furniture. Oh, I usually let you do this, Mike.
Yeah.
Get us in. Bring us in. Yeah.
Mike is hot. Hey, all right. Live from Action Business Furniture Studios. This is the Friday Business Talk with a special guest star appearance.
Yay!
Tyson. And snack powered by Mortgage Manager. So, isn't that great? So, I want you guys to give a big like, subscribe, and bell smashing to your host, Jonathan Byron, the home selling siren.
Yay!
All right. We're going to remember the story now. I forgot all about that.
Who was that pith helmet?
So we're going to go around the room, introduce ourselves. As usual, kind of talk about your industry, your business name, a little bit about what you do, just a real quick commercial basically. And then if you have any events coming up that either you're hosting or throwing an event that you want people to know about, or there's something you're excited that you're going to be attending. Last week we talked about the home show. I think there's another home show this weekend. Yep. So if that's something you're planning on doing, you can shout that out. But we just kind of get a sense of what's going on out there in the community, and we all bring that to the table and let the viewers at home know who's part of this conversation. So I'm going to start to my left with Mr. Stephen Hicks.
What's up? I'm Steve Hicks. I run Thriving Body Holistic Fitness. I am a wellness-based fitness professional. Not hosting any events, but I am participating in Tony Robbins' UPW next week, so that'll be fun and exciting.
All right, Rob Ritter with Idic Designs. 60% of small businesses do not have money set aside to recover should they get hit with cybersecurity incident. And that can be disastrous because the average cost is $9,000 to recover from an incident. I work with small businesses that want to change that statistic and be secure and safe. And I'm currently working also with another group on building a 21-day challenge. We're just getting started. If you're looking for digital marketing ideas and thoughts, we have a group for you called All for One Academy.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob.
My name is Tyson West. I'm the Executive Director of Adult and Teen Challenge Spokane, and we help men find freedom from drugs and alcohol and addiction, substance abuse. We are a nonprofit, and 60% of our funding is through earned income, some of the things that the guys do as they're going through the year-long program. 40% is fundraising, and we have a fundraising event June 28th. It's called Swing for Hope, and it's going to be at Liberty Lake. You can find out more information. We need attendees and also potentially sponsors or volunteers.
Excellent. All right, welcome.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this. This is another great group. I'm Dave Ribble. I have Standout Mastery, which is a coaching program for professionals, specifically in the areas of communication, connection, and collaboration. I also have Standout Marketing Strategies, where we help companies brand themselves better. We have something coming up on the 26th of April. It's an all-day training with me and with my wife, Gay, and a whole lot of training is going to be happening on that. We'll even feed you. So we'll give you more information about that, but I hope you'll earmark it for the 26th of April. It's going to be a really big deal.
Very good. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Alexander. I've been with a title company for the last 2.5 years. I'm currently looking for new opportunities. I'd love to still connect with agents and get them and to meet new folks like Mandy over here that helped me out a lot. and looking into investing, a little bit there. So excited to keep that role going.
Awesome. Love that shirt, man.
Thank
It's
you.
a great
Thank
shirt.
you.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm a technology success specialist for small businesses. I work with businesses of all different sizes. What we do is we help you succeed with the technology by aligning them with your business goals. So AI, automation, cybersecurity, just technology in general. We can help you with your budget, your roadmap, just helping you navigate that highway.
Perfect. Awesome.
So I'm my mortgage Mandy with Q Home Loans. And a lot of people, think of these services of mortgages, when they're looking to buy or sell. But there's a lot of different strategies that you can utilize because your home is most oftentimes your biggest asset and your biggest investment. And when people get themselves into a place where they're nearing foreclosure or they're in a troubled place or maybe they have an illness, a lot of times there's a strategy that they could have implemented prior to actually utilize that equity and that security rather than lose it. But it does take prior planning and just knowing what your options are prior to needing them. So I would love to consult with anybody so that we make sure that we just know what your options are and that you're ready to pull that trigger anytime that it's beneficial to you. Also, I do love dancing on Thursdays, so I would like to encourage everybody to join at Burbity. Thursdays at 6:30, they start with line dancing. Then they have a multitude of different swing dancings at 7:30. They go all the way from beginner to advanced, and it is loads of fun. And it's a great way to meet fellow community members and just get engaged. So come join us.
Yay, sounds fun.
It is.
Hi, my name's Aaliyah. I am the founder of the Up and Atom Foundation. Our mission is basically to make science and educational materials accessible to all, but we are working on our first project, which is Spokane Inner Peace Park. It is basically a science park, and I'm trying to bring the outside inside. So, artificial turf, real potted trees and plants, playgrounds, and then a walking track for adults, a quiet area for adults to do yoga and meditation. Because I have a teen, she came up with the idea for teen nights because the many times that we asked her, or I have asked her to get off her screen, she has said that we don't provide alternatives and that everything that is around town is expensive. And she even works at a place that caters for kids and teens, and she said she can't even afford to play there on her own paycheck. So she had a very good point, and so I asked her what she'd like to do with our space if we could. She came up with teen nights, so we would do like a DJ, have cool drinks, snacks, game night, trivia night, basically give the kids a reason to get off their screens, somewhere to go and socialize that is safe and secure. And then, of course, science. I want to include science basically in everything in the park. So, you can be on a teeter-totter, you're learning about leverage. You can, we want to have different science experiments that go a little bit beyond Mobius, simply because I think we need something that's good for all ages. Mobius is a little bit for the younger age. So that's kind of what I'm doing. We are having our Gravity Gala. That is April 12th, and so you can buy tickets right now. It's going to be in Liberty Lake at Mode, or Find Your Mode. And we are also still looking for some additional sponsors and donors. We have a couple people, or a few small businesses that have offered some awesome gifts for us to auction off. So, yeah, that's basically it. And if you want more information, please go to SpokaneInnerPeace.org.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Hello, my name is Leonidas Byron with the Keyboard Spin podcast that I started 2 weeks ago with my dad.
Yay.
It's been what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks, just kind of working on that.
Excellent. Yeah, amongst other things.
Yeah,
Hey, I'm Data Mining Mike. I'm the most notorious data pirate sailing the cloud this side of the Mississippi. I want you to join me in my pirate crew of scallywags and hackers as we take over this city. One podcast at a time. Check me out on YouTube, Data Mining Mike. Like, subscribe, smash the bell.
Welcome.
Yes.
Yeah. Always bringing the energy. Love it. And I am Jonathan Byron. I'm your host, and I am a realtor. I sell houses. And so Mandy and I team up, help people. She finds them the money. I find you the house,
Yes.
and we'll get it going. Also help you can sell your house, sell one, buy one, anything like that. But I love taking the anxiety and fear out of the process, relationally get to know people and move them into confidence to make a purchase. Big deal. Most people, it's the biggest transaction of their life. And so it's something that I take very seriously, but also with an element of fun and enjoyment. So I'm not quite as wild as Data Mining Mike, but I'm also not too buttoned down. So we try to have a little bit of fun with it.
Sell one, buy one with Jonathan Byron.
I like it.
There it is.
Look at what collaboration can bring.
You Mark will want to copyright that before.
I know.
I'll sell that back to you.
It's gonna cost you.
Yes, it is. All right. I'm out. I'm done. That's all I have. Y'all enjoy the conversation. So I do want to highlight a couple of things. Rob Reuter, who just so humble, doesn't actually mention this, has written a book and small business cybersecurity planning. So it's a short read, and if you have concerns about cybersecurity, let me say it this way: if you don't have concerns about cybersecurity, you should be reading this book. If you run a business, if you're thinking about getting into business, knowing what you're up against, knowing what is out there and what you don't know it's one of the reasons we started this, is getting into business. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I think we can all kind of nod at that one, like, yeah, man, so we want to kind of equip people. And one of those areas is cybersecurity. So if you're not quite ready to hire somebody, but you want to read a little bit about it, again, Rob Reuter, he can direct you to that book, and it is available for sale out there right now.
Yep,
So
it's on Amazon, and also I'm building a new way for people to get it directly from me.
excellent. All right.
Awesome.
And then the other thing is that next week, and I might try to remember to say this again at the end as a little bit of a teaser, but next week we have Brandy Mays from Aspire Co. Systems and Marketing. She's going to talk about sales funnel fundamentals. So super excited to have Tyson on today, and we're going to pivot to that, but I always like to talk about what's coming up, what else we have going on. Thank you all for sharing your events and the things that we're going. Tyson, I'm just going to turn it over to you, man. I think you kind of introduced yourself a little bit, and I met Tyson about a month and a half ago, and went into it not sure what to expect. Being the executive director of a nonprofit, you just never know how that's going to go. And I went in with it wasn't a sales call. I wasn't trying to sell the nonprofit a house. I wasn't trying to do but it was just kind of like, where are we going to go with all of this? And well, first of all, the presence, the way that you carry yourself, and the respect that the people that were interacting with you, your staff, that there's a sense that you're not, I don't know, there's this picture that you get of like the top of any organization that's maybe arrogant and haughty, and that immediately, like, the wind of that came out of the sails, and it was just like, okay, we got, like, really quickly, we got into some real human stuff. And so I was super impressed with that. And then your story, obviously, and I know you're going to get into it a little bit, so I don't want to spoil it, but like your story of where you were, where you are now, is just absolutely incredible. So I'm super excited to have this conversation. Without ruining anything, take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. I appreciate that. And I enjoyed our visit together. But, yesterday I was at the State B basketball tournament, and I was watching the Garfield Palouse Vikings, the girls play, and they won. Now I'm just going to share my story. I'm going to start by sharing my story. And so I played in the State B basketball tournament back in 1994. I grew up in a small little town down by Pullman. It's called Palouse, Washington. And I was a decent kid. I did okay in school. My family owned a grocery store there, West Food City, for 3 generations. And I had access to the beer cooler. And so that's really where it started for me. I started drinking. What else do you do in a small town, population of 1,100 people after a football or basketball game? And so I played football. I was co-MVP of my football team. We weren't any good, so that doesn't really mean anything, but I like to say that. Played in the State B basketball tournament, but I had a taste of this alcohol, and I thought, wow, this is what life's all about. And so I started pursuing that, and I pursued other things too, relationships in school and careers and all those things. But I really had this appetite for that intoxication, and I thought, man, this is what I want to pursue. And all those other things got in the way of my substance abuse, and it grew from alcohol to marijuana to psychedelics to eventually, fast forward now real quick, 20 years later, and now I'm a full-fledged meth addict, a heroin addict. I'm living on the streets of Spokane. I'm homeless. I'm eating out of garbage cans. I became a criminal to support my habit. I'm one of those sketchy guys that you see a grown man riding on a BMX bike, a 20-inch bike with a backpack, kind of scoping your stuff. And it's like, man, how did that guy who was MVP of his football team, how did he end up being this guy, that's scoping out your porch? And, he was thinking that there's life in the substances. I started using drugs and alcohol, then they started using me. And, I had a son during that time, in and out of jail. Altogether, 20 criminal charges, all connected to my substance abuse somehow. I had 2 felonies, and really getting picked up for a possession of a stolen motor vehicle is what saved my life. And so at this time, I'm 34 years old. I'm missing teeth. I'm looking disheveled. I'm just broken. I'm tired, and I want something new. I want a way out. And through that whole time, I tried treatment, inpatient and outpatient and detox centers, and altogether, like I think I said, 30 criminal charges, but none of that was enough. And so this time I get picked up for this felony, and I'm kind of relieved. I'm relieved because it's like, okay, I can't keep running. And I'm scared because I'm thinking, okay, this is my second felony. This means prison time. And so when I'm going through booking there at Spokane County Correctional Facility, you grab your bedroll, you go up these stairs, you walk past this guard desk, and right across from it is a bookshelf. And on that bookshelf, you grab your roll of toilet paper and your toothbrush, and anybody here ever been to jail? You don't have to answer that. And there's usually no books on the shelf, but there was one book, and it was a study Bible, and it said How to Find God. And I had rejected any kind of religion. I was anti-authoritarian. I was just rebellious against all authority, including law enforcement. And now I know I was rebellious against God. And so I thought, why not? And now when I was homeless and when I was on the streets, and I would go to all these different outreaches where kind people were handing me a cup of soup and a pair of socks and a stocking cap and trying to share Jesus with me. And I'd be like, hey, thanks for the soup. I'm good on this whole life transformation Jesus thing. And but at this moment, that was the only book on the shelf, and so I picked it up, and I detoxed in jail. And then I started reading it, and it was a study Bible, and it kind of opened my eyes. And I picked up the Bible before and tried reading it, and it never made sense. But this particular time, something different happened, and I had this little measure of faith. And I thought, okay, you know what? All these underlying issues, this addiction, all this wreckage in my life has sin's fingerprints all over it. What I have is I have a sin issue, and how do I take care of that? And what this Bible revealed is that it's already been taken care of. His name's Jesus. And so I put my faith in Christ there in jail. And then they moved me out to the Geiger Correctional Facility, and so now it's open population, and that's up on the West Plains, and there's other believers that are inmates, and we're doing Bible studies, and I'm just I had a taste of this goodness, wow, this is what I've been looking for. This is the freedom. I'm looking for all this freedom. This is what I was looking for. And because my first felony was in 2003, this second one was 2011. There's what they call a point system. The points from 2003 did not count to 2011. They called it a wash. I didn't have prison. I didn't have any prison time. So 45 days served, some restitution, they send me out of there. And so, now inside I'm all on fire for this Jesus. And then when they let me out, it's like I had nowhere to go. I just slipped right back into that same lifestyle. But now, now I'm like this new creation. I had a taste of this goodness, this life. And I'm out here thinking that this is freedom and that this is life. But the truth is that I was more free in jail, growing in this, this new way of life than I was out here doing whatever I wanted. And I did not know how to be a follower of Jesus. So I reached out to my family. The drugs weren't working anymore. It was ruined. Jesus ruined the high for me. And I reached out to my family, and they said, hey, what do you think about this program, Adult and Teen Challenge? It's long term. It's a year long. You need that. It's faith-based. You need that. At this time I was ready. So I took that jump, and in May 2011, I went into the program of Adult and Teen Challenge, and it's a challenge, and it's a hard program. It's loving, and it's compassionate, and it's kind, and it's very generous, but it's also highly challenging. And I still had that underlying authority thing, and I still had some underlying anger, and you had to work through those things. And I actually, 8.5 weeks in the program, I actually blew up and left, and that was my last relapse. And again, that same conviction, like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I need to get back. I need to get back. And so they let me come back, and they actually transferred me. We have 18 campuses in the Pac West, and they transferred me to the Portland campus. Best thing I could have done. Just freedom and no connections and no memories and no pull back in that lifestyle. And so I completed that program there, and my idea was I'm never going back to that godforsaken city, Spokane, no way. And then just through some counsel and through prayer, I was reminded, yeah, but your son lives in Spokane, and your son, Neam, who's actually coming over tonight for dinner for his 22nd birthday, your son needs you. And so I'm like, okay, I gotta go back to Spokane. So came back to Spokane, and I did a year-long internship, went through Teen Challenge Ministry Institute, and got trained in leadership training, and got put on the schedule, and started getting visits with my son, and then I just sensed the call to be a part of what's happening at Teen Challenge. I came on staff, got the parenting plan changed, and then ended up going to school, went into the addiction studies program, and I actually completed it. This was like the 4th time I tried school, and I actually completed because of the disciplines I learned in this program, Teen Challenge, and that's where I met my beautiful wife, Gabby. And so now we have a blended family of 4, hers, mine, and then ours, who I just took to the dentist today. She had to get a tooth pulled. What a blessing that is, to be healthy and have a second chance of life, and to be a dad. And so now I'm the executive director of the Spokane Men's Campus, and now I get to help those guys who are caught up in that same bondage that I was caught, find the same freedom. And it's not a magic wand, it's not a perfect program. Jesus is the answer in our program, and so our hope is, hey, let's just get them to Jesus, and if there's a step of faith towards Christ, we're going to come alongside them, and we're going to help them. You're right, I'm not up here. I'm just maybe a little farther down the road. We're all on the same journey, and I get to reach back and help these other guys, and there's nothing like it. It's so rewarding, and it's heartbreaking, because I don't even know the number of guys that have come through, or the guys that we've reached out to. I've lost track of the amount of guys who have died of overdose. Great guys. So that's my story.
Awesome.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And as you were talking, I was cognizantly aware, we're all gonna need to let that just kind of like, but maybe some people already have like questions that you want to jump in with. A thought that I had that I want to keep this relevant to everybody, like our audience. And so although I would say the vast majority of people listening may not be the one that needs help at Adult and Teen Challenge, maybe they know somebody that does. So I want people to be listening for that and thinking about that. And maybe even, I think you and I talked, we can talk about how to help somebody. I don't want to pick on you. I'm going to pick on who's on the camera. Oh, Steve, you are on the camera.
All right,
I'm
let's
going to
go
pick on you. So like, if I see that Steve is maybe dealing with some of the symptoms that you were driving at, and I want to help, but he's at that space of like swatting the soup away, or I'll take the soup, but I don't need that other stuff. Like how we can communicate with the loved ones in our lives, family members, those sort of things. But also from a business standpoint, a lot of the things that you said, I resonate with in my own growth patterns, right? Like I recognize, and I'll even take alcohol, right? I recognize, man, this alcohol consumption is getting in the way of this goal that I have. And so I stopped drinking. I'm like, oh man, I wake up, I feel great. I like all these good things, right? You're like sober January, what is it?
Yeah.
Dry January, thank you. For those of you not in the room, my 14-year-old son just told me dry January, so thank you, Leonidas. You do it, you feel great, and then you go back to it, and there's this like, it's almost, especially that first one, it's like, I don't even want this, but I have a habit, or all of that stuff. There was in there with some things that, like, as I've worked through developing new habits or getting rid of old habits, I heard in what you were sharing, it's like there isn't that much of a difference between, now there is a substantial difference in terms of outcomes, but like that thing that draws you back in, that you think, oh, this at one time, this was my freedom, and I'm still gonna find something in it. So there's a lot there, but I'm hoping that some other people have like, and you guys have green cards, so like slide your green card out if you're like, I got something I wanna share.
I'll start it off.
All right, Jose.
Hey man, thank you very much for sharing your story. I have family that currently goes through some of the stuff that you're going through, and you know, one of the questions I asked my brother, and it touches home a little bit more, so I wanted to know your perspective on this. How do we help? Because he gave me the advice of don't go to the street and try to help right there in the street. It doesn't do any good. But like, what programs? Like, could anybody raise their hand and say, hey, what program can I help that actually is working? So through your lens, which were those programs outside of the one that you found and currently are doing now that, hey, if you could help this program out a little bit or this one, I find that they're doing good work. Because I think that's where it's at. I want to help. I want to be able to say something. But what I learned from him was you can't help at the street level. You have to go where they seek the help. Because all you're doing is enabling them. Give them that few dollars, you're gonna go right to it. It's not about the food, they'll trade to get to something, to get to their end meet. But what was that key thing that if someone would have done a little bit of this or a little bit of that, that might have steered me that direction?
100%. I hear what you're saying. So, so my family, I mean, they loved me, but they didn't trust me, and they couldn't watch me kill myself. And they learned that them trying to help, I wanted them to help me in a way that was actually going to harm me. So, you know, you're like, right, when helping actually hurts, you don't want to hurt your loved one. So when I was on the streets, I mean, I had a panhandle, I begged for money, you know, and I was a liar, and people were, there was people that were pretty harsh with me, you know. They would say things, you know, get a job, or, you know, just insult me. And then there were people that would actually look me in the eye, and they would treat me with dignity and respect, and just show some love, you know. Hey man, I'm not gonna give you any money, man, but you can do this. Like, that did something inside of me that made me feel human, you know, treated me with dignity, first off. And you're absolutely right, you can't help anybody until they're willing to get help. So you can meet them where they're at, you can love them, you can share, you know, you can say, hey, I'm here for you, and I will help you, but this is how I'm gonna help you. You know, you have to draw these healthy parameters. I will help you get into detox. I will help you get into Spokane, the STARS program, community detox. I'll help you get into adult and teen challenge. Boundaries are very important with a person who is struggling with addiction. And in that lifestyle, most people, they become deceptive. They're even deceiving themselves. And the last thing you want to do is, is enable them. And I'll tell you that, you know, if you have children, you know that consequences motivate kids to move in a different direction in their life or have a different kind of behavior. And if we're too busy rescuing people from their decisions, their choices of using, there's natural consequences that go along with that. Sometimes, and this is a hard thing to do with a child, with a brother, is you allow them to experience those hard consequences so that so then they have some motivation to make a different choice. And that's one of the hardest things to do with somebody that you love. There's a lot of programs that are doing really good work. I mean, any kind of treatment program is really good. Every time I went to treatment, it was good. It was an intervention to that next step until I finally actually got it. You know, so any kind of detox program, any kind of short-term treatment program or outpatient, I mean, they're all good. So the long-term is what I needed, you know, that 12-month, and there's other long-term programs as well.
Follow-up question still. Okay, so you made the decision, you've gone in and out. For those folks that have seen this happen, you see your family member go in and out, in and out. But when that decision that they make that says, hey, I'm want to make a difference for you and your journey, when you finally made that, and you made that decision a couple different times. So I'm more specifically targeting to saying, when you said, that's just not for me anymore. Like, I just, the going to the alcohol, going to the drugs, going and doing the becoming a thief, you know, it just doesn't do that for me. But there's still that period of, I still need help, but the family's not there anymore. Would you agree? Like that you've already burnt those bridges. How do you know when it's the right time to, like, you obviously expressed that you wanted to change. I feel like my brother's there. So like, what would be that to everyone else that might be listening to this that says, okay, if you can see that change, you can see that drive, because you're right. As soon as you're let out, there's nothing out there for you. It's easy for you to slip right in. Key things that you said is, you know, you went to a different city, because that's so true. As soon as you're out, if you can't find $5 or $10 to let her get a job, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna go steal something, pickpocket, whatever, panhandle. You're gonna slide right into that. So in that moment, what would be the greatest advice that you would give someone to say, hey, if they're there, here's what you should be doing, or hey, I know it's support, but I wanted to hear it from you, because I want to get this from my brother, right? So I want to hear a different side of that.
Well, you're absolutely right. Like when they're ready, right? So we do a lot of street outreach with Adult and Teen Challenge. We go down to second division. We love on people, and we're sharing this message of hope, and we're sharing our testimony. Those people aren't ready. But what we're doing is we're planting seeds. So then when they get to that moment where they are ready, because most of them, they're either feeding, they're high, or they're hustling for that next fix. They are not ready. But now they know about us. You know, we planted that seed. We have a relationship with law enforcement where when they engage folks, like if they're like, yeah, I get it, you know, I'm struggling with addiction. Like when there's that level of humility, like you can sense it when it's authentic. So sometimes law enforcement will actually contact us. Hey, we got to take them in, but here's their name, and us as professionals, we can go in and visit them, you know, because if they're authentic, if they are ready, then we can get them into our program. That's what a person needs, is they need somebody, like maybe as a brother, you can help them, only to a certain level. They need a higher level of care. They need people that have seen this, that have experienced this, that are trained to work with guys. Like that's the best thing you can do, is point them somewhere where they can get the actual help they need. Because really, you can't really help them otherwise, you know?
Right.
And you don't really, most of the time, as an addict, you don't want to give them money. Because I'll tell you, probably 99.5% of the time anybody gave me money, it was going in my veins. But that's not what I advertised it was going for, you know?
Number one thing he told me is stop giving money. It sounds like you don't care, but the truth of the matter is, he told me, it's something that sticks with me. He goes, you know, you go back 15, 20 years ago, it was a 70-30, right? 70% of the people that were on the street were there because they had a hardship or something else. 30% of them were there because they were addicted. He's like honest, he's like, that's flipped, and it's 90-10. 90% of them are there because they have an addiction and they don't want help, and only 10% actually want something.
Sounds about right.
So not giving the money, which sounds so cruel, is key. What are some of the other things that we could give instead?
Well, we have.
Because I'm not going to give him anything, but where could I give it to? I know I'm not profits, but.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could give it to Adult and Teen Challenge. You know, you could give them, we have these little touch cards, it has our admissions line on it, you know, you give them that information. You can give them some type of care package that just shows that you care for them, that you love them. Hey, here's a granola bar, here's a piece of fruit, here's a bottle of water, here's an Adult and Teen Challenge admissions card. You know, something that you can engage with them. You're still looking at them face to face and treating them with dignity and respect. And like they're a human being, and like somebody sees me, somebody believes in me, because I will tell you that every single person that comes down our driveway into our program, I mean, they're, you know, like prior to coming down there, they're making terrible decisions, sometimes criminal decisions, sometimes they're shooting up stuff or smoking things, and they're deceptive to their families, but when they come through this threshold through our program, and when they start to heal, and some of those layers start to be removed, like these guys are talented, they're skilled, they're intelligent, they're creative, they have senses of humor, like they can connect with people in very unique ways. Like these are awesome people. But when you're out and you're under the the bewitching of a substance like that, that's not who you are. So yeah, the best thing you can do is, there's an organization, like our organization, because we're faith-based, we have to raise a large portion of our funding. That's why we have to do 3 major events: do a gala, do a golf tournament, do a bowl-a-thon. It's like, what does Teen Challenge do? Oh, we put on fundraisers. No, that's not what we do. We do life transformation that works, and but it requires financial fuel to do what we do.
May I still ask another question?
I think so. I think this is-
Okay, so you touched on something like a care package. You want to care, you want to give a care package. If I were to give a care package, what are you going to take and use for yourself, and what are you going to leverage for the next high?
That's why you just keep it simple.
Okay.
You keep it simple. You don't put anything really highly valuable in there, you know.
Socks
Something
or
that-
something
socks
like
are
that.
great. Yeah, nobody's gonna, I mean, at least when I was using, you know, it's been 14 years now. But when I was using it, fentanyl wasn't out when I was using, but, nobody's gonna trade you some dope for a pair of socks, you know.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing better than a brand new pair of socks. You know, we take it for granted now, but when you're on the streets and you're walking all over the place, that's a very loving thing, you know. When it's cold, hand warmers, gloves. You don't eat usually, you know. I mean, I was so malnourished when I first got clean. I put on 50 pounds the first 30 days, you know. So something that that person can eat and hydrate, you know. I mean, that's a loving thing to do.
You see me smile, you see me laugh. Because the way I look at it, a cheeseburger, like,
Cheeseburgers, yum.
are you gonna hustle that thing off, or are you just gonna whoop it
Well,
down?
I mean, I never hustled anything like that off.
Okay.
Nobody would, when I was using anyways, you know. It's a different culture now. Fentanyl's really cheap, so I'm not exactly sure.
That makes sense.
But a hot meal, you know, I was eating quarter remaining cheeseburgers out of garbage cans. So, you know, a nice cheeseburger or a
So that
taco.
actually goes a long way as far as caring and showing.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'll say this, the reason why I kind of say socks and everything else, I don't even think Mandy knows this about me. Typically during the winter, I actually go to Costco and buy the $20 thing of warmers and usually socks. And if I see someone on the side of the street, I pop my trunk and I say, I don't have money for you, but I have a pair of socks and I have feet warmers, because right now it's 2 degrees outside. So it's good to hear
It's great.
that just, I was just thinking that, and you're saying that out loud. I'm like, all right, cool. That's the spot still there.
It's like, what does it take to create a healthy community? It takes people that are healthy to contribute what they can. And some can contribute a ton, and some not very much. And some can't really contribute at all because, you know, maybe they're elderly and they need to be taken care of. And then there's some that actually take from the community. And that's what I did. And that's what happens when you get caught up in that lifestyle of addiction. What do we do with them? If it wasn't for being incarcerated, I don't know what would have happened to me. But also to be rehabilitated too. Like that is an avenue. What would you do with someone like that? And if they have that desire to be rehabilitated, let's take them through this process, you know, because they are somebody's brother. They are somebody's son. You know, there's a mom that delivered them into this world at one time, and they need to be healed. They need to be set free from that bondage, so they can in turn contribute to create a healthy community around us.
Maybe my final question. Okay, so you get your healing, you're going through your stuff, you seek counsel, things are on the right path. And a lot of folks forget that a wave of destruction was left behind you, and it's huge. Sometimes you burn a bridge, you might not be able to mend it. You get caught stealing from family members, hundreds of dollars, right? So you know those bridges are burnt. What do you do in that instance, like to help mend those, you know, for not mend those, sorry. What does a family member do once their loved one is now seeking the treatment on what I consider the right path? They're doing the right things, they're going to their meetings. If they don't go to meetings, they have a support group, right? But from there, once again, the weight behind them is the family. What organizations, I'm not speaking for myself, I'm talking to the group out there, because they're listening. A lot of these folks don't know that. Like, what groups are there for the family to help mend that bridge between the two after that's starting to take place?
There's Al-Anon.
Say again?
Al-Anon, if you've heard of that. It's like a 12-step recovery program for families. Because in addiction, you know, I mean, there's the person who's addicted and there's some wreckage in their life and they need recovery, but it impacts the entire family too. And the family needs recovery. So Al-Anon's a support group, it's free. And that's very beneficial. And there's also a lot of good dialogue and coaching in how not to enable and how to establish healthy boundaries. which is actually beneficial for the person who's in recovery. They need that. Family counseling, of course, you know, some type of family counseling, and those wounds and that damage and that wreckage, all that stuff can be, I shouldn't say all of it, but a lot of it can be restored and reconciled. It takes time. And the person in recovery, it's gonna take time and reps of them living out this new way of life. And if there's money owed, then you should probably pay it back, you know? It's good to reconcile the heart, you know, in relationships, but also pay the money back. You know, it's gonna be a challenge, but then that shows that, you know, you're faithful in restoring that bridge.
I think that's a very valid point, you know, bring up the full impact, that it's not just the person that probably has a lot of healing to do, and in that experience. And one resource that I personally know of that would be great for family members is Barbie Haven. She does excellent programs, specifically I think geared towards women, but it may be open to more than that, where she really talks to people about the, you know, broken boundaries and the different things that come from being really close and loving someone really deeply that's in that destructive behavior, because there's a lot to unpack for that. So Barbie Haven, it's Haven, and you can find her on Facebook, so she'd be a really great resource for anybody that's looking for that. And I kind of had a follow-up question too about how you guys receive your funding and how that process works. So I know that that's, you know, from what I've heard, is a very big obstacle for people finding treatment and getting into treatments, and then also being able to afford it. So it's really awesome that you guys are doing so much work outside of your main mission just to fund the mission so that it's more accessible. With that, what is the cost to somebody or their family that is participating, and do you have a really long wait list, or how does that process work if somebody does want to participate?
So we call it Pac West. So we're in 6 states. We're in Hawaii, Washington. I'm gonna put in for a transfer to Hawaii, I think. Hawaii, Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Oregon, and did I say Alaska? I think I did. We have men's campuses, women's campuses. We have about 800 beds throughout the region. Here in Spokane, we're a men's campus. We are a 48-bed campus. We have 32 men in our program. And you think of our program. It's very invitational. It's very compassionate. There's such a communal feel to it. You hear talks with our guys in the program about this. The brotherhood. There's this community. Guys are in the trenches together, and we're walking towards this new way of life. But it's also challenging, because you learn, like, guys come to us. We're not just a homeless shelter. You know, if you just need a place to go, that's not us. But if you get to that point, you're like, man, I gotta change my life. Okay, we can work with that. It can be just a smidge of a desire to change, because now we're gonna hold you accountable to that. You said you want to change, and there's underlying attitudes, and there's underlying beliefs, and there's just underlying behaviors and things that are gonna come up. These old ways that come up that lead them back to that old lifestyle. And when they do, there's a clash, and we're gonna confront those things because we love them, because you said you want to change, and then we're gonna equip them with practical tools. We have clinicians, we have state certified counselors that help our guys and give them the tools and how to do that. And then there's other programs they're very high generous. And they're not so challenging. And so maybe say like Housing First and medicated assisted treatment, and maybe that's a step that somebody needs to go. But there's no requirements to do any kind of counseling or to address any kind of behaviors. In human nature, maybe, but also addictive nature, person kind of wants to take the path of least resistance. And so ours, it's adult and teen challenge. It's in our name. It's a challenge. Take the challenge. You know, that's what we tell the guys. And so a year-long program. That's probably why we have available beds. Is no, I don't know. I want to do this. Maybe if I could just do 21 days, so I can get back on my feet. You know, and maybe that's all I need. You know, and that's great. So really the 2 main reasons why people don't show up, they'll give us a call and say, hey, yeah, we're a Christ-centered program, comprehensive approach. We have 4 main components that we go through, and that you go through, and they hear the Christ-centered, like, no, thanks, click. We say, the second reason why people hang up on us is because we say, well, it's a year-long program. I don't need a year. I don't need a year, you know, really, I just need to kind of get my feet underneath me. And maybe that's accurate, or maybe it's not, you know. I wish I would have, in my 20-year substance abuse career, would have taken that route first. But I wanted the path of least resistance. So now back to your question, you know, the cost, the funding. It costs, you know, if you take a round number, the whole organization, 18 campuses, we budget it out, it's about $3,500 a month per guy. And what is the cost to the student? Well, we ask for an intake fee of $500, and we get that probably 1 out of every 10 guys. And then we ask for what we call friends and family support, like, hey, help fundraise. Are you willing to help fundraise for your students? Like, this is your issue, we want to partner with you. Are you willing to help fundraise for them so they can go through this program? So we ask $1,250 a month. It's a donation, so it's tax deductible, and we rarely get that. So if you look at, we call that friends and family support. If you look at the amount of friends and family support that we get for 32 students, if you were to average it out, we probably get $150 a month per guy. So it's very minimal. So there's no barriers. I mean, we are not going to deny service for anybody for lack of funding, because a lot of guys burn their bridges, and families have paid for this program and they forked out money for this, and by the time they get to us, it's like, hey, we're done. We can't. You're gonna have to figure it out. And so, so as they go through the program, it's our Christ-centered comprehensive approach. What's our mission is we offer life transformation through a Christ-centered comprehensive approach. And that's the core of what we do. There's 4 main components. There's the residential recovery discipleship piece. That's the Christian component, where the guys are learning about Jesus, learning about how to read the Bible, learning how to apply biblical principles to their everyday life. That's where guys are in the trenches. The second component is the behavioral health substance abuse treatment that we provide. We have excellent counselors that help our guys kind of unearth some of the traumatic things and kind of dive deep into certain behaviors and strategically equip them to walk out this new way of life. We're able to bill for those services. So most of the guys in our program, they're on Medicaid. The level of care of that treatment that they're going through, the clinical component, is intensive outpatient. So we can bill for the one-on-one counseling, we can bill for the group counseling. And then our guys participate in what's called work therapy or vocational training. So that's the third component of our comprehensive approach. And so while guys are there, they work. And we have vocational training partners that out in the community. There's a couple of them: Dealer Auto Auction, Airway Heights, Cyrus O'Leary's. And guys, they'll work 16 to 32 hours a week, depending on where they're at in their program. So when they come in, their treatment hours are high, their counseling hours are high, their vocational training hours are lower. And then as they get healthier, those switch, because we're also trying to help them to kind of grow up. And so while they're working, they're learning transferable job skills. They're learning soft skills, really, like how to show up, how to be a part of a team, how to take direction. 100% of our guys have issues with authority. So how to deal with those authority issues. And if there's failure, they're still under the protective umbrella of our program. And now they can learn how to fail forward instead of fail backwards and say, that's it, I quit, I'm gonna go get loaded. Yeah. And then they're doing it together in the community. So there's this peer support. And then they're also learning responsibility, because they know that vocational training is generating revenue to support part of the cost of their program. So our funding, 60% is earned income. That's the vocational training, the work therapy, that's the life renewal counseling that we're able to bill for, and then the 40% is fundraising. So there's businesses, there's individuals, there's churches that some support us on a monthly basis, which is, I mean, I'll walk out to the mailbox and there's a stack of checks up there. And that's pretty humbling, because checks don't write themselves. That's because people in the community see, you know, they believe in our model, they see the need, and they're like, hey, we want to be a part of the solution. And then the events are great. You know, it's great to pack out the convention center and have 400 guests there, and our students participate, and they share their stories, and we bring a message of hope. And golf is similar. It's the same way. People like to take a day off of work and come golf, you know, and support the mission. And then we have a bowl-a-thon. We just finished our bowl-a-thon just down the street here at Valley Bowl. We took up every single lane. We had 120 bowlers. We raised about $35,000 at a bowl-a-thon, you know. But what's great about the events is that it's bringing the community together, and they get to hear these stories, and it brings hope to them. Because how many people here know of somebody who's struggled with substance abuse? Like, we're not that far away from somebody that knows somebody, and so it can be kind of feel hopeless and discouraging, and just to see, you know, somebody that's made it through that, and there's this light, you know, this new life in them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So, you know, I think it is fine. I actually wanted to touch on a question and discussion a little bit about the circumstances of that final transition. And the reason is I have been helping a friend who has a son who's, you know, going through substance use. We've been carrying the water, so to speak, for several years, and we think we finally got it transitioned. And what was interesting was the circumstances of the final transformation was against his, you know, incarceration, you know, with being picked up. And I'm curious if there is something there, because he went through opportunities where people say, oh yeah, we have this program, you can get into this program. Just get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and get on the phone and start calling, and we might have a bed for you in Yakima. And what seemed to finally turn it was he got picked up for, you know, breaking and entering and things, and the court system essentially mandated that he had to go into a treatment, and it wasn't just a 15 days or 2 weeks, it was, you're gonna be in this for at least 6 months and things. Is there, because you said something about boundaries, you didn't have boundaries, is that really the transition point that is needed, is to put structures around people that are, you know, trying to transition out of that?
Yes. I mean, you know, for the most part, and there's different motivating factors for everybody. What is it gonna take? You know, a mom gets her kids taken away. That might be all it takes. Or it might be, you know, it might just be you lose a job, and that's motivation of, oh man, I had to stop, I gotta do something different. You can't accomplish something that you're working towards, like, okay, all right, this is a problem, like, it's causing a problem for me, I can stop. You know, depending how far down you go in the substance abuse. I mean, when I started using, it wasn't like, you know what, I want to destroy my life. You know, that's not how it started. It started like, wow, this is fun. Wow, this works. This is great. You know, it relieves anxiety. I'm kind of crazy. You know, everybody's fun. That's how it starts. And but if you continue to do it, especially some of the harder substances, especially the opiates like heroin or fentanyl, then you get to a point where now you become physically dependent on it, and it becomes this habit, and you're in this rut. And you, when you're using, when you first use, it's like, here's your homeostasis right here, and then you use it, you get wee high, you're like, yeah, this is great, and then you come down and ugh, I feel horrible, and then you're like, back to homeostasis. And then you keep using, and then you get to a point where it's like, wee, oh, it's not very fun. But then you come way down here, oh, this is terrible. Oh, now you're back to normal. And then it gets to a point where it's like, now your normal's here, but now you're back here. Now you're just using. You're like, oh, I'm just trying to get it feel a little more normal. And then you come back down here, and you never really get back to that normal again. And it's a trap, and it's a nightmare, and it's kind of like if you know, say for opiates, it's like if you were lost up on Mount Spokane and it's been weeks and you're hungry and you see it, you come across the cabin, you're like, man, I know there's food in there. And what are you gonna do? You know, I'm probably gonna break in there to try to get something to eat. That's how it is in that type of dependence, that type of addiction. So sometimes when you're that deep in addiction, you need some restrictions around you. It's not necessarily just enough to get sober, or just to make those phone calls and maybe have some type of video counsel. Like you really need this. You really need to be pulled out of that environment, and you need to to be separated from that substance. And now that's just the physical part. Now there's the mental part of it. And you know, where a guy doesn't have energy, it's like, oh, I just don't have energy, like I'm just kind of lethargic, I'm just kind of depressed, there's really no meaning in life. And so you get over the initial physical hump, and now you gotta get over that mental hump, and you gotta replace that with other things, with good things in life. And you know, it's a long journey. I don't know, is that answering your question?
I think so. Like I said, the observation I had was that it was once he was placed in a situation where it wasn't his choice anymore. It had to be, you know, he had expressed for years he wanted to get out. And there were lots, you know, and of course we would call all the phone numbers and they said, oh, there's plenty of programs. There's this program, this program, this program, but it always required somebody who's being affected by the drugs taking initiative to actually act on their own behalf, because he was an adult. So there's no I have some, you know, it's like he has to want to do it.
Yeah.
And what finally did it was when it was no longer, you know, a choice.
Yeah.
It was kind of pushed on him, and then the means was set up to say, okay, this is an intensive program. You're not incarcerated, but you're not getting out of the facility until you complete this, and then it's into the halfway house and things like that. So I was just curious because your story paralleled that in terms of you were picked up for a second felony, and that's where the transformation took place.
Yes, yeah. Again, those consequences are good motivators to make different life decisions.
Right.
You know, like what's it gonna take? It's like when we're doing our street outreach on 2nd Division, and we're trying to love on people, and we're praying with folks, and we're handing out clothing, and there's people that are overdosing on fentanyl down there. And we carry Narcan, and sometimes we're helping revive folks, and the EMS shows up, and they're going into cardiac arrest. And so, you know, they're giving them Narcan, and they're giving them CPR, and then they come to. And then they're offering them services. Hey, do you want to come with us? Do you want help? And they don't want help because they're immediately tossed into this crazy withdrawal, and all they want is just to get well. They know if they just hit that fentanyl one more time, then that cruddy feeling of withdrawal is going to go away. And it's like, what is it going to take to move that person to get help? You just died, and that's not enough of a motivation. And so maybe it is incarceration. And what we believe is if we can go down there in the name of Jesus and with, you know, in the power of the Holy Spirit, maybe they're going to have this kind of supernatural encounter. And we're like, okay, God, we don't know what's going to work. We're relying on you to show up and do something. Because them dying isn't motivating enough, you know.
Wow. Well, we got to wrap this up because we're coming up to the end of the hour. I had a few thoughts that I want to float out there. One that I know you'll agree with, but I want people to hear you say this. Like, for those of us that are like, man, how can I help somebody get into help? Or like, you answered those questions great, but you know, maybe more specific, like my 14-year-old son needs this, and that didn't quite answer how I can help. He doesn't, by the way.
He already did dry January, so he's good.
But maybe I have a parent, or you know, Rob's example of a friend that has, you know, you were great when you and I sat and talked, and your door is kind of open for if somebody's like, man, I feel like I have somebody that I could help with this. They could reach out to you guys, and you guys can give them some resources and get them going.
100%, yeah.
The other thing that I was impressed with, that I kind of, just to bring this back to the business community, is I keep hearing this from you, and like I'm almost jealous of the person that goes to adult and teen challenge. Like I'm like, I want to take a year and just be in community with other dudes that are like wanting to get like, man, like how powerful. And so, although that may not be an option for most of us, community is important. That's why I appreciate everybody that's here at this table. When we get together, and like this was such an interesting, it's like so much back and forth between Jose and Tyson. It's great. It's great because like we just get to absorb from each other things that it's like, man, I didn't even think about how that, and we get to know you a little bit more, Jose, all of those things. So I would encourage everybody, and I actually forgot, to announce my event that we have coming up. Not this Sunday, but next Sunday, we do an event at our house, and it's for that purpose, it's to just bring people together in community. It's gonna be the 16th of March, so it's the day before St. Patrick's Day, so wear green. We're gonna have a best dressed competition. Bring your best St. Patrick's Day meal, food, corned beef, whatever. Come and just hang out, and we'll have information about that. And we'll try to get information about all of these different things in the comments section, wherever we post this. And Tyson, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate the work that you're doing and appreciate you coming and sharing with us. Everybody else, thank you for being here. This was a
Thank you.
great conversation.
Thank you all for watching this all the way to the end. I'm sure you learned something that'll help improve the human condition. Because of that, you should subscribe. And because that's called value. Remember, we need your help too. We need all the engagement we can get. All right, guys, so be sure to hook him up with some page ranking. Thank you, Mortgage Mandy, for the food. If it wasn't for her, we would all starve.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Yes, my
See you
pleasure.
guys.
All right. Well, and on that note, a podcaster that I listen to says, if this was good, share it with somebody that would appreciate it. So if you think sharing is caring, if you think somebody would appreciate this, share the link with them, get the word out, and definitely we'd love to have you on the show again at some point and go a little deeper.
This was great. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Good one.